know, there are some historically significant record releases that are just cooler than others. And I have one here. It's Analogue Productions, the Complete Plantation Recordings of Muddy Waters. And it's the first time that the entirety of the Library of Congress's 1941 and 42 field recordings of a young McKinley Morganfield have been pressed to vinyl. So the legendary folklorist Alan Lomax, along with musicologist John Wesley Work III, traveled to the Mississippi Delta in 1941 and again returned in 42, specifically to the Clarksdale area to record a young Muddy Waters amongst others. And when I say record, it's maybe not what you think, because today we can do just about anything with one of these. But back then, well, it was a bit different. So the way it worked, the Library of Congress custom outfit a 1939 Ford Deluxe sedan with some incredibly bulky, incredibly heavy equipment that Alan Lomax hauled around to be able to cut direct discs to a portable Presto Model Y lathe. Now, the batteries to run this whole setup took up the entire trunk as well. So, I mean, it was a really cumbersome endeavor, and I'm just amazed at what they were able to pull off. But over those two visits to Stovall Plantation, Lomax and Work recorded 20 songs plus interviews, and one lacquer was broken during the 1941 trip. So 19 survive, and all 19 appear for the first time on this set, the Complete Plantation Recordings of Muddy Waters. So two of the recordings that Lomax and Work made of a 26-year-old Muddy Waters made their way onto a 1942 set produced by the Library of Congress called Folk Music of the United States, Album 4, Afro-American Blues and Game Songs. So what's really cool is Kansas City blues collector Dwayne Gilley has one of the few copies of this rare 78 cent and graciously lent it to Acoustic Sounds to help with this outstanding package.
This was pressed as 200 copies, and it was primarily made to go to archives or museums or to colleges that would order, or key people that had contributed money to allow this film recordings to happen.
The Library of Congress then supplied high-res 24-192 digital files that were pulled from the original Lomax discs. Super cool. I mean, that is so cool. And then those files were put into the capable and gifted hands of Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound to master this edition, and of course followed by plating and pressing here at Quality Record Pressings. So let's take a gander at what's going on inside and what coolness lurks beyond. Before, I'd like to point you again to the Analogue Productions Quality Guarantee sticker. And it just lets you know that we're looking out after you, and we are trying always to deliver the highest quality that we can with every one of our releases. So I'm going to go ahead and slip off the bag. And the first thing that you are confronted with is something very, very stunning. It's a cloth-covered double LP, and the cloth is designed to mimic the 1942 Library of Congress set. It is just a beautifully tactile piece that our designer Tyler Jeanette conceived, and Stoughton Printing helped us to create. The gatefold then opens up to a really beautiful and interesting layout that reveals images that help to tell the backstory of the creation of this fantastic set. And as we go deeper inside, you'll find a set of 3 inserts, one being a extensive set of liner notes that includes technical specs of how the Library of Congress transferred the original Lomax discs. So that is interesting read for sure. They have also included a replication of the original Library of Congress liner notes about the 2 Muddy Waters cuts that were included in the set. Interesting, they start out and they say McKinley Morganfield nicknamed Muddy Waters, so he already was known by that name at that point. And this is really, really sweet. This is a copy of a studio portrait that Muddy had taken where he is so proudly holding a copy of his very own record. You never know at that point if that's going to be the one and only, and gladly for us, it wasn't. And then we have the 2 200-gram discs, and the labels are a replication of the 1942 Library of Congress set. Now, speaking of how proud Muddy Waters was of his first record, there is another guy who had, just a little bit to say about that moment when Alan Lomax changed the future of one young man.
And Lomax sent Muddy 2 pressings from their sessions together, along with a check for $20. Later in his life, Muddy recalled what happened next. He said, "I carried that record up to the corner and I put it on the jukebox. Just played it and said, I can do it. I can do it."
And man, he indeed did it. And he did it for a long time. And I gotta say that this is such a significant set on a number of fronts. And beyond the coolness of the package, the music inside really reveals a Muddy Waters who's following in the footsteps of the likes of Son House and Robert Johnson, but he's about to blaze his own path in Chicago by electrifying his sound and altering the course of the blues and beyond. It's that cool, it's that important.
Well, I that man has got too much money. Now I'm standing and dogging around.